Hey Bloom Blossoms! Welcome back to another episode of PCS Profiles.
Today we'll be covering the great state of Ohio.
Oh, good morning to you too.
No, not the Japanese greeting. It's the state.
Oh.
The word Ohio comes from the Iroquois language, Great River.
Oh.
Not Japanese.
Oh. Hi.
No.
So yes, we're going a little bit out of our normal alphabetical order for this episode, and we'll be mixing it up for the next few videos as well.
That's because our friends over at Blue Star Families have chapters in several states to assist military families living there,
including a brand new chapter in Dayton, Ohio. For the next few episodes, we'll be covering states where Blue Star Families organizations are located.
Getting back on track,
get ready to cut us some slack for the presentation of some abstract facts.
Hi, I'm Isaac, not Henry. He has tonsillitis. Ohio's nickname is the Buckeye State, and their motto is, "With God, all things are possible." The state frog is the American bullfrog. I love frogs. 11,613,423 people live in Ohio, and a few famous people have been part of that population, such as LeBron James, Neil Armstrong, and the Black Keys. Ohio has a few major industries, including aerospace, defense, bioscience, and agriculture. You can get a temporary instruction permit at 15 and a half, a probationary license as early as 16, and, when you've met all the requirements, a full license at 18. For more information, visit teendriving.aa.com/OH.
And now, here's Catherine with the History and Culture segment.
or as we like to call it here at Bloom,
Catherine insults everyone.
I'm sorry, Ohio's was so boring. Much like Arkansas, nothing interesting happened in Ohio, ever. Ohio entered the Union on March 1st of 1803 after a brief history of wars of disputed territory. This includes the French-Indian War of 1754, when Britain took control of Ohio from the French, and the Ohio-Indian War stretching from 1790 to 1794, when the new Americans fought against the Native Americans because they wanted to settle on Ohio territory. In 1852, Uncle Tom's Cabin, an anti-slavery novel by Harriet Beecher Stowe, was published. The novel showcases the horrors and immorality of slavery, and it laid some of the groundwork for the Civil War. Ulysses S. Grant was born in 1822 and went on to become an important military leader throughout the Civil War. He was also elected as president of this country in 1868. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, was born in Ohio in 1847, and I know what you're thinking, light bulbs, really exciting stuff. Ohio also experienced a lot of historical cultural influence from Native American tribes and the French and British colonizers. And now their only culture is not having any. And I guess that's not completely true because now they just base their entire cultural identity on hating Michigan. So I guess there's that. But to make up for the lack of everything, Ohio has some great foods for you to try. This includes seasonal produce, Buckeye candies, their famous Cincinnati chili, lakefish, and a surprising amount of maple products. Local festivals include the Cincinnati May Festival, the Columbus Arts Festival, and the Tri-C Jazz Fest, and lots of food festivals. That's Ohio. And notice how short this segment of our PCS profile was.
Whoa there, Catherine. Those are some pretty big words from a Michigan fan. Haven't you guys lost football like the last decade in a row? Anyways, here are the good parts. The best parts, all of the good things about Ohio. Starting here. Islands and beaches. In Ohio, you can take a ferry to the different islands, to go to beaches, have a good old family Midwestern time. Next up, we have Jurassic Park and Goosebumps. We Ohioans gave you guys those iconic stories. You're welcome. For you military kids, we're constantly flying all around the world, overseas, to different countries, to different states. You want to fly, right? We gave you that gift. We gave you the science. You're welcome. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cedar Point. Talk about amusement. We have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the best amusement park in the world, Cedar Point. You should go sometime. Highly recommend. Next up, Pringles, America's favorite chips. We gave you guys those. You're welcome. We have Buckeyes. Ohio has their very own candy. Who else has that? Peanut butter chocolate deliciousness? You're welcome. Next up, we raised 25 astronauts and 7 presidents. There's been what, 45 presidents? We did 7 of those. Do the math, we're pretty awesome. You can live with us. Now, before we get to number 1, here's a downside to Ohio, because I'm not going to be biased and give you all the good things. I'll give you the downside. Charles Manson. That one's on us, guys. We're sorry about that. But the best thing about Ohio is so good. You cannot deny the awesomeness of this thing. LeBron James.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We'd like to inform you that Catherine is not necessarily reflective of the views of Bloom. Thank you. Whoa. What just happened?
Weren't you just over there giving the disclaimer? Oh. Anyway, here's the geography of Ohio with Milena.
Ohio is located in the Midwestern region of the United States and is bordered by 5 different states. Michigan is to the north of Ohio and Kentucky is to the south. Additionally, Pennsylvania and West Virginia are located to the east of Ohio, and Indiana is located to the west. Ohio is located in the humid continental zone and has a temperate climate. This means warm summers and cold winters. Each year, Ohio gets about 40 inches of precipitation, which is about the median amount of precipitation. However, 28 of those inches are snow. Also, Ohio usually has about 16 tornadoes annually. The notable features of Ohio's landscape include Lake Erie, Appalachian Plateau, the Bluegrass region, the Great Lakes Plains, and the Till Plains. Ohio consists mostly of expansive plains, hills, steep valleys, and forests. Some major cities of Ohio include Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Toledo, and Akron. Columbus, Ohio is both the largest city in Ohio and the capital of Ohio. Ohio offers a plethora of awesome things to do. Some cool things we found to do in Ohio include visiting the Harriet Beecher Stowe House, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Cleveland Museum of Art, Lake Erie, Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Garden, Cedar Point, the Ohio Cavern, the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force, the National Aviation Hall of Fame, the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, Pyramid Hill Sculpture Park and Museum, Hocking Hills State Park, Dayton Aviation Heritage National Park, National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, the American Sign Museum, and the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad.
That geography. Ohio looks pretty irresistible.
Now it's time for installations.
The first base of today is ISC Cleveland Coast Guard Base in, you guessed it, Cleveland. The site was commissioned in the summer of 1996 and acts mainly as a support center for soldiers.
It supports all military and civilian actions taken by the Coast Guard in Ohio. The base also supports veterans and retired personnel by handling paperwork. The next base is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Montgomery, Ohio. The area was initially used by Wilbur and Orville Wright to start flying, and it became a base by 1918. Before World War II, the base had a modest 3,800 people working in 30 facilities. But by the peak of the war, 50,000 people occupied 300 facilities. Since then, the base has remained a critical location for Air Force operations.
It's also the largest Air Force base in the United States, and as a part of its function, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base operates the local airfield, maintains the base, and accommodates over 60 units. In our third and final installation,
There really aren't that many.
Anyway, Defense Supply Center Columbus is the land and maritime supply chain headquarters for the Defense Logistics Agency. The base manages 2.1 million items, managing transactions and transporting goods to 51 locations around the country.
Now for the moment you have or haven't been waiting for.
You love it.
You hate it.
It's school.
Okay, let's get started. Ohio is ranked 39th in education, which I may say is mighty fine. Congrats, Ohio. Ohio High School Athletic Association runs most of the sports in high school, which includes baseball, basketball for boys, basketball for girls, bowling, cross country, field hockey, football, golf, gymnastics, ice hockey, lacrosse boys, lacrosse girls, soccer, softball, swim, and diving, tennis boys, tennis girls, track and field, volleyball, and last but not least, wrestling. The overseer of bands is called the Ohio Music Education Association. If you're going to live on ISC Cleveland Coast, you will most likely attend a school called Mayfield High School, home of the Wildcats, and their band is called the Pride of Mayfield, and have about 1,787 students that attend this school. If you PCS to Wrights-Patterson Air Force Base, you will most likely go to Seabeans High School or Fairborn High School. Both have over 1,000 students, and they both focus on students' futures. One provides a huge scholarship of over 7,000, and the other focuses on STEM training. If you're going to the Defense Supply Center Columbus, there is no on-base housing, and the market can be very competitive. So if it all depends on where you're going to move to for which school you'll be going into. Just a reminder, this isn't your only option in Ohio, so please do your research and find the school you love and fits you. Now back to you, Matthews.
Now it's time for some fun facts with Bennett.
Hey folks, it's Bennett here with some Ohio fun facts. Just before we get into the video, one little pro tip. If you just so happen to be a Wolverines fan and you just moved to Ohio, maybe keep that on the down low for the time being. That Michigan-Ohio rivalry has been going on for longer than you might expect, which we'll get into. But anyway, let's hop right into it. Number 1. Ohio is home to the largest cuckoo clock in the world. I'm guessing it looks something like Old Ben, and every hour a pterodactyl comes out of it. Somehow I feel like that's a little unrealistic though. Number 2, the Ohio flag is the only non-rectangular flag in the state, and it legit looks really cool. Number 3, if you feel like adopting a new pet while you live in the old OH, the state allegedly houses its own version of the Loch Ness Monster. She's said to live in Lake Erie. Riding up to a lake house on your own personal enormous monster would be the flex to end all flexes. Number 4, speaking of flexes, 25 astronauts have lived in Ohio. Which makes me wonder why specifically Ohio would crank out so many space folks. You guys let me know if you find out the reason.
Wait, it's all Ohio?
Always has.
Anyway, the town of Toledo in northern Ohio used to be a part of Michigan. They both had claim over the territory and almost went to war over the matter, until Andrew Jackson ended up giving it to Ohio. Like I said, that rivalry's been going on for a while now. Number 6, Ohio is also one of the top national producers of tomatoes and tomato juice, which makes it a really good place to be if you get sprayed by a skunk or something. And number 7, finally, 7 U.S. presidents have been cranked out of Ohio. And that all makes me think that they should change the Ohio State slogan from Ohio the Buckeye State to Ohio, the state of astronauts and presidents. Email the governor, everyone, if you would. Anyway, that's it for me. Now to school you back down to Matthew for the conclusion.
Wait. Which one? In conclusion, Ohio is a state of great...
Disappointment. Whoa, that Catherine.
I was going to say heritage.
It's played a major role in the aviation industry and has produced several key players in the history of our nation. Thanks for joining us for PCS Profiles. Sorry if you're joining us for PCS Profiles.
This has been a mistake.
Yeah, sorry. Comment all your suggestions, tips, and comments below.
Yep.
And
Hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video with all your friends. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and check out all other Bloom-related content.
what did you say?
No, nothing.
Let's end this, please. Goodbye! Sorry for joining us.
Sorry for joining us this episode. This is a mistake. What am I doing here?
This was a mistake.
Their very own candy. Who else has that? You're very, very welcome. That's a Buckeye. A Buckeye.
Don't do the rubbing your face. That's
No.
really weird.
That's why you're disturbed.
Ohio gave you guys 25. 20.
Our thing is over.